case you're wondering who this guy is sitting next to me, he's a guy I work with. His name is Max Anderson, and he tries to be cleverer than I am. So he'll come out with a lot of remarks, make him happy, you can laugh once in a while. He works hard at it. And he's also my translator. You see, I don't hear that well, and I usually can't hear what the people say in the audience when they have a question to ask. So he can hear it, and he tells me what it is. I just hope he doesn't edit it, but there's no way that I can tell. Anyway, why don't we get started? I have no idea what we're going to do or talk about, but I guess you do have an idea, so let's go.
All right, Stan. Well, just first off, thank you so much for being here. I'm Meredith. Nice to meet you. So guys, really, Stan, what have you been working on?
I have another confession to make.
Oh, no.
I can't hear what you're saying when you talk into that, because it comes out like this. Oh, right now I'm working on a number of movies that I can't talk about, but there is one television series called Stanley's Lucky Man. Like nothing you've ever seen. They're filming it in England. It'll come here sometime during the next year. So when you see it advertised on TV, give it a look, and you can turn to the person next to you and say, I heard about it long ago at the Honolulu convention. And it'll make you seem very important, and the person you talk to will be very envious.
All right, Stan. Where did it all begin?
Where did it all begin?
Yeah, you, in the beginning.
Well, I was a little baby. They tell me I was very cute, very precocious. I was writing comic strip stories when I was 2 years old, 3 years old. No, actually, I never thought I'd get into comic books. I wanted to be a writer. I wanted to write the great American novel. And nobody wanted me to write the great American novel. And I had all kinds of jobs. I was an usher in a theater, I was a delivery boy, I was an office boy, everything. And then one day I heard there was an opening in this publishing company. They needed an assistant, and it was a company that published movie books, sports books, all kind of books. And also a little line of comic books that nobody much cared about. And I found out the assistant was needed in the comic book line. And there were only two guys running that comic book line, Jack Kirby and Joe Simon. So I met them when I was about 17 years old, and I worked with them. And my work wasn't very glamorous. I filled the inkwells. They used ink in those days. And I ran down and got them sandwiches for lunch. And I did some proofreading. And then if there was a copy that needed changing in a strip, they said, Stan, can you rewrite that copy? And I figured, why not? And I rewrote it. They must have liked it. They accepted it. Little by little, I was writing more and more. And then, for some reason I never understood, they left. And I was now 18 years old, and I was the only guy in the comic book department. So the publisher came to me and said, hey kid, do you think you can handle things until I find a grown-up to work things? Well, when you're 18, what do you know? I said, sure, I can handle it. And I guess the comics were so unimportant then that he forgot about them, and I stayed there ever since. And I started writing the stuff, and then I hired the artists. I became the art director and the editor. And I don't even think he was reading the books. He didn't care about comics in those days. And that's how it all started, which is a very silly story, but it is the truth. And it kept me talking for a few minutes. Otherwise, I'd have been sitting back here with nothing to do. Are you applauding the fact that I'd have been sitting with nothing to do? You got anything to say? All right.
In In the realm of creating characters, Stan, in the realm of creating characters, what is it like coming up with these iconic characters? What I asked Stan was, how did he create these amazing characters that become icons for all of us to love?
Well, if I give that secret away, all these people will be my competitors. No, actually, I never thought much about it. My publisher would say, I want to get a new character, Stan, can you dream one up? And I did, but in the early days, they weren't like the Marvel characters of today. He wasn't interested in good characterization, great dialogue. All he wanted was a lot of action. Give me a lot of fight scenes. Give me a lot of action. That's what they want. Action, action, action. So I wrote a lot of stories that had a lot of action. Nobody cared about them, but it was a living. And one day I got so sick of it that I said to my wife, we're going ahead a few years now. I now have a wife and I'm a little older. And I said to my wife, I think I want to quit. Because I'm getting sick of writing stories where in every panel somebody shoots somebody else. So she said, well, if you want to quit, why don't you write one story the way you'd like to do it to get it out of your system? The worst that'll happen is he'll fire you when you want to quit anyway. So that's when I wrote the Fantastic Four, and I tried to make it different than the other characters. I tried to give them some personality and get a little more plot and so forth. And it worked, it sold. So then we started doing more books like that, and that brings us up to date to where we are now, and it's been lovely talking to you, and thank you very much.
All right, we're going to go out and take some from the audience. All right, guys, like I said, I'll come tap you. We're going to go with Superman first, because I know you've been wanting that question. I'm going to pick 4 more of you, and we'll go through order we have.
What if they ask a question that I don't know the answer to? I'll get so embarrassed. Don't embarrass me.
No, don't you dare.
All right. She's going to go do it personally. Do you want me to start now? I finally get a pretty girl to sit near me, and she gets a job where she runs to the audience.
Mr. Stanley, I think I speak for all of us when I say thank you for not writing novels.
You're welcome.
My question is, of all the characters that you've created and then seen them adapted to the film or for television, which one do you think is the most accurate to your original idea? That character on the screen is really captures the spirit and essence of what you wrote into a comic book.
I think most of them have caught the spirit we were looking for when we created these strips. I think Iron Man certainly was the Iron Man that I had in mind. Spider-Man, when that came out, it couldn't have been closer to what I wanted. The Fantastic Four, the first movie of the FF, I was disappointed in because I didn't like the way they did the villain, Dr. Doom. Let's see what else. The Avengers are wonderful. And wait till you see some of the new ones. Pretty soon you'll be seeing the Black Panther. And by the hoary hosts of Hogarth, you'll be seeing Doctor Strange. And we're trying to figure out how to do the Inhumans. So you've got a lot of treats in store for you.
Thank you, sir. Hi, Mr. Lee. Thank you for my childhood, first off. You're a legend.
You're very welcome. Send me money. You have to forgive me. Another bad thing about my hearing, I can hear, but when you talk into the microphone, it sounds like this to me. So he translates for me.
Were you aware that the first Iron was made in a collaborative process very similar to the patented Marvel method. They went in with a very loose script, and the entire team helped improvise their lines in the story. Are you proud of the fact that the Marvel Cinematic Universe and the comic universe share creative origins?
It took him 10 minutes to ask it, and you translated it in 20 words. Amazing. Yeah, I'm very happy the way the movies have turned out. Our competitors aren't, but it's like Marvel has suddenly become the biggest thing in Hollywood, all over the world. I mean, the Marvel movies are probably the biggest, best, most exciting, most successful movies the world has ever known. And that's kind of nice. Thank you.
I have a gift for you. Can I pass it out to you?
Oh, you better take good care of it if it's for me. Is it insured? Is she bonded?
Yeah, I'm a little short for this. So my question is, what are you gonna do when you're gone? Like, what's gonna happen to Marvel?
Wait a minute.
That's not a good question, by the way.
What?
She's asking, what is the world going to be without Stanley?
Are you gonna pass?
Oh, it'll probably fade away into nothingness. As a matter of fact, when I'm not here anymore, I'll think it has faded away into nothingness.
How does it,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
how does it feel to be an influence on all these people?
Well, are you sure I'm an influence on everyone? There might be an exception here. And if so, I'd like to ask him or her to leave. I don't know. I can't believe it, for one thing. Sometimes I have to pinch myself. But if it's true that I have been any sort of an influence, I hope it was a good influence. And if so, I am indescribably proud and happy. And I don't know how to make that funny. I can only say that seriously. If he didn't remind me of things, I never know what to say. But I did an interview here earlier, and the girl asked me, what makes Stan Lee so powerful? Is that what it was? And I said, my fans. Because without the fans in this business, you're nothing. So if you're wondering why I'm being so nice to you, even when some of you don't deserve it, it's because you're incredibly important to anybody who's in this business. And I gotta tell you, I'm the luckiest guy in the world, because I think I have the best fans that anybody ever had. Of course, obviously, I deserve them.
Hi, Stan. In the movies, which was your favorite cameo and why?
My favorite cameo? Well, I kind of like the one in the Avengers where Thor was drinking a very strong drink and said I shouldn't drink it, and I said, come on, give it me. I drank it, and then in the next scene, two guys are holding me up, and I'm going, but there's a new one coming up. Which movie is it? Is it in? No one coming up? Yeah, the new X-Men movie. I have a cameo different than any other cameo because I haven't that with a guest star. He's so afraid I'll tell, because then he'll get in trouble. But anyway, I think you may get a kick out of that. Don't miss X-Men. Oh, by the way, the director of X-Men, Bryan Singer, was here yesterday. I don't know if he's still here today, but I gotta tell you, he is one of the most talented guys in Hollywood. When he directs a movie, boy, you better go to see it. And the nicest guy in the world. So he's working on a new movie now that has nothing to do with Marvel, but he told me about it. The first thing I said is, what about my cameo? But we'll see. We'll talk about that later. I want to play hard to get.
Sir, where did you get the idea for the X-Men, and did you originally create them to destroy racial prejudice?
I didn't create them to destroy racial prejudice, but once I had them going, it occurred to me, man, this strip makes a great vehicle to talk about racial prejudice and how terrible it is. But in the beginning, all I wanted to get a new team of heroes. We had the Fantastic Four, and I wanted another team. Now, the toughest thing in superhero-dom is when you want to make up a new character.
In the hall, there will only be 2 minutes to get in line for the Kevin Eastman signing today. Only 2 more minutes to get in line for the Kevin Eastman signing. Also, make sure when you're there to check out the convention.
Blah, 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 blah. We don't care. Let's listen to Stan.
Well, anyway, the toughest thing when you try to dream up a new superhero characters is, what is their origin? How did they get that way? And I figured I already had somebody bitten by a radioactive spider. I had some guys affected by cosmic rays, by gamma rays. By the way, I wouldn't know a gamma ray if it was in front of me. I don't know what these things are. They just sound good, and I call it that. Anyhow, I was trying to think. I want a new group of characters with new superpowers, but how did they get them? And then inspiration struck. What if they were just born that way? Then I wouldn't have to explain anything. And I'm a pretty lazy guy. That would make it easy to write, not much writing. So I figured that was it. I just called them mutants. And it was so easy. And then, when we had the mutants, and I had Magneto as the head of the evil mutants, although I kind of like Magneto, he's not that evil. There's a reason that he's the way he is. But anyway, I said to myself, after we already had the script going, I said this would be a great way to show how terrible racial prejudice is. So I did try to put a little of that theme in, and Bryan Singer did it even better in the movie, and that's where we are now. And when you've heard it here officially, you're very lucky, and I want you to remember this date, because this is when you heard how the X-Men were created. Man, what a big thing. Nobody ever asked me how Irving Warbush was created. Half of the people don't know who Irving Warbush is on that. Anyway, next question, if there is one. Wait a minute, do I see an empty seat? I'm leaving. If there's an empty seat. Okay, I'll stay.
Hi, Stan.
Hi.
My question is that, well, a lot of your characters, their names, first and last names begin with the same letter, like Peter Parker, Matt Murdock. I was just wondering, what's the significance behind that?
This was in the Big Bang Theory, that question.
Because I hate to answer that because it exposes a weakness in me, and I like you all to think I'm perfect. But I have the world's worst memory. trouble remembering the names of people, even people that I've created in print. And I figured if I give them the same letter for their first name and last name, if I can remember one of the names, I know that the other name begins with the same letter, and that gives me a clue. It makes it easier for me to remember. So if I can think of Bruce Banner, that's what, it made it easy for me, because I'm a lazy guy with a lousy memory, and boy, the more I talk up here, I realize I'm riddled with faults.
All right, my question is, from all the characters you created throughout your career, if you could have a power, what would it be?
Well, believe it or not, my power, I've been asked that question before, and the answer I always give is, I think the greatest power in the world would be to have luck. Because think about it, if you're lucky, nothing could hurt you or harm you, or nothing would ever be bad. If somebody tries to shoot you, the shot misses because you're lucky. Whatever happens, it doesn't hurt you because you're too lucky. So you might say to yourself, if you're the type of person who talks to yourself, you might say, well, why hasn't Stan done a superhero called Mr. Luck or something? And the reason is, I've never been able to figure out how to get a costume that represents luck. If I were lucky, what kind of costume would I wear? And it's too big a challenge. But I do have, as I told you, that television show that will be out next year called Stan Lee's Mr. Lucky. And you might get a kick out of seeing that and remembering the talk that we had here. See, I like to position things here that you can think about later so that you won't forget me once I've left. No, I don't mean left forever. I mean, Stan Lee has left the house. Me and Elvis Presley. Wait, this face.
Okay, so first off, thank you very much, Stanley, for coming all the way down to Honolulu. But I have
You're
a question
welcome.
for you. So, sir, you've contributed so much to the comic book world by creating so many characters that we've all fallen in love with. But there have also been a number of other characters that many other creators have made throughout the years as well. If you could choose one comic book character that you did create, which character would that have been?
Can you remember all that? Two. I'll pick two. I forgot his name. Who's the guy with the big paws? Wolverine.
Jesus Christ.
Deadpool. Isn't the guy who did Deadpool here tonight? Ron Liefeld. Yeah, he's a brilliant guy. I think Deadpool is a great character. Wolverine is a great character. I resent the fact that I didn't make them up. Oh, that's right. Will I have a cameo with Deadpool? Really? Oh, then it's even better than I thought it is.
Stan, our next question's from a young girl right here.
What's your favorite Marvel character?
Oh, probably Spider-Man.
I wonder what his favorite female character is.
Who would win in a fight? Hulk or Superman?
Well, a situation like that depends on who's writing the story. If I'm writing the story, I sure feel sorry for Superman. But you can make, as a writer, you can make any character win. I can have Irving Forbush beat Superman if I wanted to. But realistically, Superman should be unbeatable because. But there's something I don't understand about it. He's from another planet, and the gravity there was very heavy and strong. So when he got down to Earth, the gravity is so light that, as Siegel and Schuster wrote, he could leap over tall buildings with a single bounce. Now, I can understand that, but would somebody tell me what makes Superman fly? What is his means of propulsion? He just goes like this, and he flies. We would never be that scientifically inaccurate as Mark. In fact, I'll give you an example. I wanted Thor to fly. Now, I wasn't going to have him just go like this. I gave him a hammer, and he twirls it around, and he makes it go as fast as a propeller. And then, it's on his wrist, so he lets go of the hammer, and because he was twirling it so fast, the hammer goes up into the sky, but he's got it on his wrist, so he follows the hammer. So you see, everything I did was purely scientific.
I kind of want to get up and ask that.
Hello, Stanley.
Hi.
I'm a 12th grade teacher at McKinley High School, and a few weeks ago we had a discussion about Spider-Man. We were talking about our favorite heroes, and Spider-Man came up because he's the most relatable to teenagers. And we had an interesting topic to discuss: what would have happened to Spider-Man had Uncle Ben never died? Let's say earlier you mentioned fired a shot, the shot missed. Uncle Ben's totally okay. A lot of my students came up with many interesting concepts. Spider-Man became a hero, but not as successful. Spider-Man became a villain. Peter Parker just flat out gave up on Spider-Man. What would really have happened, from the best of your knowledge, if Uncle Ben hadn't died that day?
Oh gosh, that's an interesting question. I'd have had to write the whole script differently, because it was Uncle Ben's death that gave Peter Parker the feeling, it gave him the urge to go out and do good for other people, because he felt so guilty. He felt in a way responsible for his uncle's death, because he wasn't there when he was needed. So to me, that was a very strong motivation to make Peter want to be a real hero. And if his uncle hadn't been killed, who knows, he might have turned out to be Doc Ock. I love Doc Ock, by the way.
Good afternoon. Mr. Stanley, two of the biggest influences in my life are my grandparents, because respectively, they remind me of Richard Pryor and George Carlin. They're incredibly funny, their wit, their humor. You are a notoriously clever person. Where do you find that inspiration in your life? What made you such a funny guy? Is there someone like that in your life?
Why am I so clever? I like that guy. I don't know how to answer that. I finally found a question I can't answer. Why am I so clever? I guess because I'm adorable. I don't know.
Is there someone
I
in your
hope
life?
I am. I hope I am clever.
Is there someone in your life who maybe motivated you or kind of gave you that insight to be so funny?
Well, I love comedians. I don't know if you remember Jack Benny.
Yes.
He played a guy who was very selfish and always worried about money, very stingy. And I always thought one of the funniest bits I've ever heard on television or on the radio, Jack Benny was walking down the street and a hold-up man came up to him, put a gun against him, and said, "Your money or your life?" And Benny didn't answer. And the guy said, "I said your money or your life." And Benny finally said, I'm thinking. thought that represented just the kind of personality and nature he had so perfectly. And I love humor, and I always tried to put humor in my stories wherever I could. But as far as what made me so clever, I guess I was just born a wonderful human being. I can't fight it.
Thank you for your time today. Excelsior.
Hello, Mr. Stanley, sir.
What are you doing? Why are you doing things that I don't know about? You were sitting making gestures. You're supposed to be responsive to me. Pay attention.
Okay, so my question is, earlier you said you didn't like drawing comic books where there was a lot of people just getting shot in every panel and a lot of violence. How do you feel about modern comic book writers like Mr. Rob Liefeld with Deadpool and Cable, where there's a lot more violence and action? What's your feelings on that, sir?
Are they more violent now? No, it's not that. I'll be honest with you. I haven't read comics for quite a while, for more than a year now. Even though I look like the most perfect physical specimen you could ever see, my eyesight and my hearing have been getting bad. As you can tell, I have trouble hearing. And it's very hard for me to read a comic book. I have to have a big magnifying glass, and it's too much trouble. So I'm not really up on what's been going on. In fact, I was in the office some months ago, and I grabbed a couple of people in the office, and I said, tell me about this Deadpool character who's so popular. I was jealous. I wanted to know.
Closed. The Kevin Eastman signing line is now closed.
We don't care. Let us talk. What's going on? Somebody spoke over me. Oh my God. Did I answer the question? Did I leave it hanging? Really? I accounted myself okay? I don't want them to talk about it later. That Stan never answers a question. All right, okay? All right, we're still friends. Okay.
Okay, thank you very much. I love you, sir.
Likewise.
Good afternoon, Stanley. It's a pleasure asking you.
Good afternoon.
All among the 90s cartoon or animated series, which is your favorite? All the animated series in the 90s.
Oh, I like them all. I used to do voiceovers for all of them. And whichever one I was doing the voiceover